Hello, my name is Sam, and the title of my project is called Learning Loss in Lockdown. I chose this because my project heavily focuses on learning loss as a whole and the ideas of it. I chose this project for two main reasons. My first reason was because my previous science fair had a lack of information and a very small background research. I chose this project because I knew that a topic like this would have a lot of information for my written work and my conclusion. My second reason was because I thought that I really enjoyed online school, but I didn't feel like I was ready to go back into school in September. So that made me think, did other people feel like this? The purpose of this experiment was to determine if grade 7 and 8 students felt that online learning has a positive, negative, or no impact on their readiness to return back into school. My procedure was to first create surveys for both my teachers and my students. My first step was to develop a survey. I first made a 13-question survey for my students and a 7-question survey for my teachers. Next was my participant selection. I posted the link to my survey to different classrooms, and I also had to email the links to different teachers and different students. Then I had my instructions for my participants. I would ask all students to fill out the survey honestly, and I would give them a deadline for when the survey was due. In my results, I found out that my hypothesis was correct. My hypothesis was that if students did not enjoy online school, then they would feel like they were not ready to go back into school in the next year. And I found out that this was exactly the case. The percentage of my students that did not enjoy online school were very similar to the percentage of my students that did not feel ready to go back into school in September. To apply this to the real world, I can use this in many different scenarios. If we can get this information to different governments, we can use this to change the curriculum of online school. One thing that my students enjoyed a lot was one-on-one personal meetings with their teachers. Now, if we can get the governments to create smaller classes, then one-on-one meetings can be more common. This is just one way to use this in the real world. I can also use this in the real world because a lot of students found that they had a lot of stress with online school. We can use this to check up on mental health of our different students. I had many different difficult parts of my project. The first difficult part was I actually had a project before this that I chose that I had to restart, which ended up making me start a bit later than others. Another hard part was with my surveys. Sometimes a lot of my answers were not completely answered truly, with someone saying that their mental health was smelly, so I couldn't use all of the results in my surveys and in my graphs, which I created later. For future research, I could get the survey to many different more schools than I got earlier. I also only had 4 results for my teachers, so getting a bigger sample could help me get more accurate results and a better understanding of what students and teachers felt. A lot of my teachers felt that the curriculum changed because of that we went onto online school. So having different opinions from my teachers could really help me find more results. I used a scientific method in many ways. First was my idea, which was almost like my purpose. I was wondering, like I said earlier, if other students felt like me, where they enjoyed online school, but they didn't feel like they were ready to go back into in-person school. So that was my idea. Next came my hypothesis. My hypothesis was that if you did not enjoy online school, you would not feel ready to go back into in-person school. Next came my experimenting and background research. I started researching learning loss as a whole, and I found that there's actually 2 different types of learning loss. The first learning loss is, of course, kind of in the name, just a loss of learning that you had previously learned. But another different type of learning loss is almost a loss of being engaged with your class. Teachers reported that there's an increased absenteeism in all their classes during online school. Next, after I did my background research, I went to my experimenting, which was me sending out my different surveys and getting my results, turning them into my graphs. And finally, with my results, I had my conclusion, which is listed here. It looked like there was actually some learning loss, But like I said earlier, a lot of the teachers said that the curriculum changed, so they weren't actually fully able to tell if there was a huge amount of learning loss. My Christian perspective relates to this for one really main big reason. In my science fair topic, there's a huge emphasis on mental health as a whole and why it's important. Everybody needs somebody to talk to when they're at a low point in their life. And my Christian perspective shows that God is the one that you can talk to no matter what. There are many different verses in my Christian perspective that show that when you're dealing with something hard, God is there for you and He can always help you through your tough times.